Admiral Crevash stood on the observation deck of the Dreadnought Crimson Talon, and honestly, he had never felt more powerful in his entire military career. 347 warships stretched out before him in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the distant stars like a swarm of metallic predators. Each vessel bristled with plasma cannons, missile arrays, and shield generators that could withstand the firepower of a small sun. Magnificent, is it not? Crevash turned to his second-in-command, Commander Thrace, a grizzled veteran with scales that had dulled from countless campaigns. The humans picked the wrong species to antagonize. Thrace nodded, though his expression carried less enthusiasm than the Admiral would have preferred. Indeed, sir. 347 ships against one colony. The odds are heavily in our favor. Heavily? Crevash laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber like grinding gears. Thrace, my cautious friend, these are not odds. This is an execution. The colony in question, Breakpoint 7, sat on the edge of human-controlled space like a tiny pebble someone had carelessly dropped at the border. It was a mining operation. Mostly. Some research facilities, a few thousand colonists who had the audacity to claim a system that the Krenari Collective had marked for expansion decades ago. The humans had ignored 17 diplomatic warnings, 23 cease and desist orders, and one very strongly worded letter from the Galactic Commerce Council. So here they were. Diplomacy had failed, and now it was time for the Collective to remind these upstart primates exactly where they ranked in the galactic hierarchy. Sir, tactical display is ready, announced the navigation officer, a young Krenari named Pollux, who still had bright, unscratched scales. Crevash moved to the central holographic table, where a three-dimensional rendering of the Breakpoint 7 system rotated slowly. The colony itself appeared as a small cluster of structures on the third planet, surrounded by mining stations and defensive satellites. Pathetic, really. Analysis, Pollux. What are we facing? Pollux practically bounced with confidence. Minimal resistance, Admiral. 32 orbital defense platforms, all of them outdated models. 6 patrol craft, light fighters only. No capital ships detected in the system. Their planetary shields could withstand our assault for approximately 17 minutes if we committed only 10% of our firepower. 17 minutes, Crevash repeated, savoring the number. And how long if we commit our full strength? 4 minutes, sir. Perhaps 3 if we focus fire. Commander Thrace cleared his throat. The humans must know we are coming. Surely they have called for help. Of course they have, Crevash said, waving a clawed hand dismissively. And help will arrive in approximately 73 hours, according to our intelligence. By which time Breakpoint 7 will be nothing more than a debris field and a cautionary tale. The Admiral paced around the holographic display. The Crimson Talon alone outgunned the entire colony's defenses. Adding the other 346 ships made this less of a battle and more of target practice. Fleet composition, Pollux. Break it down for me. The young officer pulled up another display. 12 dreadnoughts, including our flagship, sir. 57 heavy cruisers. 103 destroyers, 98 frigates, 77 corvettes and support vessels. We have sufficient firepower to level 17 colonies this size, simultaneously. Crevash smiled, a gesture that involved far too many teeth. And we are using all of this for one human settlement. Some might call it overkill. Some might call it sending a message. Thrace countered. Exactly right, my old friend. The Admiral straightened his uniform. A deep crimson affair with enough metals to anchor a small ship. The humans need to understand that their expansion ends here, that their defiance has consequences. The bridge crew worked efficiently around them, running final system checks, calibrating weapons arrays, ensuring that every ship in the Armada was synchronized and ready. This was the Collective's finest battle fleet, assembled specifically to crush human ambitions in this sector. Everything was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Time to target, Crevash asked. 2 hours, 19 minutes at current speed, Admiral. Excellent. Maintain formation. All ships are to power up weapon systems at the 1 hour mark. I want the humans to see us coming. The observation deck fell silent except for the ambient hum of the ship's engines. Crevash looked out at his fleet once more, feeling the weight of command, the certainty of victory. This was going to be easy. This was going to be glorious. At least, that is what he thought. The warning came exactly 93 minutes into their approach, and honestly it was so unexpected that Lieutenant Vornax nearly spilled his stimulant drink all over his console. Sir, contact! Single vessel detected at the edge of the system. Krevesh looked up from the tactical report he had been reviewing, mildly annoyed. Specification, Lieutenant. Is it one of their patrol craft attempting to flee? Fornax's fingers danced across his console, pulling up sensor data. His face, normally a pleasant shade of green, had gone somewhat pale. Negative, Admiral. Rating as a capital ship. Wait. No. Recalibrating sensors. Sir, this thing is putting out some strange readings. Strange how? Commander Thrace moved to stand behind the sensor station. The energy signature is fluctuating. One moment it reads as a frigate, the next as something much larger. Our sensors cannot seem to get a solid lock. Krevesh felt a small flicker of interest, though nothing approaching concern. One ship. One single, solitary vessel against his entire armada. Visual confirmation, he ordered. The main screen flickered, and there it was. The human warship hung in the void like a dagger waiting to strike. It was not particularly large, maybe a third the size of the Crimson Talon, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect. Angular, aggressive, covered in what appeared to be weapons ports and sensor arrays. That is not a standard human frigate, Pollux said. Actually, I am not recognizing the class at all from our database. Lieutenant Vornax, open a channel. Let us see what these brave, stupid humans have to say for themselves. The communications array hummed to life. Channel open, sir. Attention, human vessel. This is Admiral Krevesh of the Krenari Collective Battle Fleet. You are outmatched, outgunned, and frankly out of your depth. I suggest you clear the area immediately, where you will be destroyed along with the illegal colony you are attempting to defend. You have 5 minutes to comply. Silence filled the bridge. Krevesh waited, imagining the panic aboard that lone ship. The response, when it came, was not what he expected. The voice was calm. Too calm. Female with an accent that suggested someone who had spent too much time in deep space. Negative, Admiral. This is Captain Rebecca Torres of the UESS Nightfall. I am afraid we cannot allow you to proceed to Breakpoint 7. Turn your fleet around and withdraw from this system, and nobody has to die today. The bridge went absolutely silent. Then someone giggled. It was Pollux, quickly stifling the sound behind his hand. The giggle spread like a virus. First one officer, then another, then half the bridge crew was trying not to laugh. Krevesh felt his own laugh building in his chest. One ship, one tiny insignificant ship, was ordering his entire battle fleet to retreat. He laughed. It started as a chuckle, then grew into a full-bellied roar. His officers joined in, filling the command center with mirth. Oh my, Krevesh gasped, wiping moisture from his eyes. Captain Torres, was it? I appreciate your courage. Truly I do. But let me explain something to you. I have 347 warships under my command. You have one. One ship cannot stop a fleet. This is mathematics, not bravado. There was a pause. Then Captain Torres spoke again, and there was something in her tone that sounded suspiciously like a smile. Well, Admiral, I guess we are about to test that theory. Nightfall out. The channel closed. The laughter on the bridge died down gradually. Krevesh shook his head, amused despite himself. Tactical assessment, he ordered. What exactly are we dealing with? Pollux pulled up the scan data again. Still having trouble getting a clear reading, sir. What I can tell you is that it is heavily armed for its size. Multiple missile batteries, what looks like railguns, possibly plasma weapons. Shields are active and registering at, well, that cannot be right. What cannot be right? Sir? The shield output is reading at nearly twice the capacity of our own Dreadnought shields. That is impossible for a ship that size. Thrace frowned. Sensor malfunction. Possibly, sir. Krevesh waved a hand dismissively. It does not matter. Even if that ship has the shields of a battle cruiser, it is still one vessel against hundreds. Numbers matter. Orders, Admiral. We proceed as planned. All ships maintain course for Breakpoint 7. First and second destroyer wings. Break formation and deal with our overconfident friend. The rest of the fleet continues to the primary target. Sir, that is 46 destroyers against one ship, Thrace pointed out. I know. Overkill, probably. But I want this handled quickly. Destroy the Nightfall, then rejoin the fleet for the main assault. The orders transmitted across the fleet network. 46 destroyers peeled away from the main formation, their engines flaring as they accelerated toward the lone human warship. Krevesh settled into his command chair, satisfied. This little interruption would be over in minutes. Captain Torres had been brave. brave and foolish. In approximately 5 minutes she was going to be brave, foolish, and very, very dead. Or so Admiral Cravash thought. The destroyer wings moved into attack formation with practiced efficiency, spreading out in a wide arc that would allow overlapping fields of fire. Cravash watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Time to engagement?" he asked. 3 minutes, 40 seconds, Pollux reported. Commander Thrace stepped closer. "Sir, does this not strike you as odd? One ship positioned perfectly to intercept us, piloted by a captain who sounds remarkably calm for someone facing impossible odds." "What are you suggesting, Thrace?" "I am suggesting that humans did not become a spacefaring species by being stupid. They tend to have reasons for their actions." "Your concern is noted, Commander. But our intelligence shows no other human vessels in the system, no reinforcements within range. Sometimes a desperate stand is just a desperate stand." 2 minutes to engagement range, Pollux announced. Cravash leaned forward, activating the fleet-wide communication channel. "Attention all ships. What you are about to witness is the inevitable result of human arrogance. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the coordinated might of the Krenari Collective. Destroyer wings, you are authorized to engage. Show them no mercy." He switched to a direct channel to the Nightfall. "Captain Torres, I am giving you one last chance. Surrender your vessel, abandon ship in your escape pods, and I will allow you to live as prisoners of war. You have 60 seconds to decide." The seconds ticked by. 50, 40, 30, 20. The channel crackled to life. "Admiral, I appreciate the offer. Truly I do." Captain Torres sounded almost conversational. "But I am afraid I am going to have to decline. You see, I have my orders too. And those orders are very specific. Do not let you reach breakpoint 7. So here is my counteroffer. You turn that pretty fleet of yours around, you head back to Krenari space, and nobody has to clean up the debris field I am about to create." The sheer audacity struck Cravash speechless. "Your bravado is impressive, Captain, but your tactical sense is clearly lacking. You face 46 destroyers, each one more than capable of reducing your vessel to scrap. You cannot win." "Well, Admiral, here is the thing about suicide missions." Torres paused. "Sometimes they work out better than you think." "Nightfall out. Engagement range in 10 seconds, Pollux called out. Cravash gripped the armrests of his chair. "All ships, open fire the moment you have a lock. I want that human ship vaporized." 5 seconds. "Destroyers are in range. They are firing, sir." The view screen lit up with weapons fire, plasma bolts, missiles, kinetic rounds, all converging on the Nightfall's position. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. This was it, the end of Captain Torres and her ridiculous defiance. Except it was not even close. The Nightfall's shields flared to life, a brilliant blue-white barrier that looked less like a standard deflector screen and more like a wall of solid energy. The incoming fire hit the shields, and just stopped, absorbed completely. Then the Nightfall moved. It did not accelerate gradually. One moment it was stationary. The next it was simply somewhere else, as if space had folded around it. The tactical display struggled to track the movement. Did that ship just jump without entering slipspace? The tactical officer asked, his voice climbing half an octave. "Impossible," Cravash said, but even as he spoke, he knew he was wrong. The Nightfall had repositioned itself above the destroyer formation, and now its weapons came to life. Rail guns, magnetic accelerators firing solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. The first shot punched through a destroyer's shields like they were not even there, tore through the hull and exited out the other side. The ship split in half. The second shot followed a microsecond later. Then a third. Then a fourth. 4 destroyers. 4 shots. 4 kills. In under 3 seconds. Evasive maneuvers. Someone was screaming into the fleet channel. But the destroyers were in tight formation. Optimized for overlapping fire, not for dodging. And the Nightfall was not slowing down. Cravash sat frozen in his command chair, watching his carefully planned assault turn into a massacre. "Sir, we are reading multiple impacts. Destroyers 7, 14, 22, and 31 are gone." The Nightfall tore through the destroyer formation like a knife through wet paper. Those micro-jumps meant the human ship was never where the targeting computers predicted it would be. And when something did manage to hit, the shields deflected it. "How is it moving like that?" Thrace demanded. "I do not know, sir. The energy readings are completely off the scale. Another barrage of railgun fire streaked across space. 3 more destroyers exploded in rapid succession. The Nightfall was not just destroying ships, it was doing it with surgical precision, hitting reactors, weapons arrays, shield generators. Return fire. Why are they not returning fire? Krivash roared. They are trying, sir, but the Nightfall is too fast. By the time our weapon systems achieve a lock, it has already moved. As if to prove the point, 2 destroyers fired on the same position simultaneously. The human ship was no longer there. A Krenari destroyer was. The friendly fire collapsed its shields. The Nightfall did not miss the opportunity. A railgun shot vaporized the crippled destroyer's bridge. Casualties are mounting, sir. We have lost 19 destroyers in under 4 minutes. Krevish felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was not how battles worked. Deploy countermeasures. Chaff. Electronic warfare. Everything we have. The order went out. Dozens of destroyers began pumping out interference signals. For about 10 seconds it seemed to work. The Nightfall's firing rate slowed. Then it adapted. Sir, the human ship is burning through our countermeasures. It is switching targeting methods.
Then hit it with everything.
Concentrate all fire on its last known position. 30 destroyers opened fire in a coordinated barrage. The amount of ordnance they launched was staggering, enough firepower to level a city. The Nightfall's shields absorbed it all. The blue-white barrier flared bright, then settled back to its normal glow. The human ship sat there in the middle of the firestorm, completely unharmed. Impossible, Krevish whispered. Those shields should have collapsed. The Nightfall responded with a spread of missiles. Smart missiles, each one acting independently, weaving through the destroyer formation with impossible agility. Point defense systems tried to intercept them, managed to hit maybe 1 in 5. 5 more destroyers exploded. We have lost over half the destroyer wings, Admiral. They are requesting permission to withdraw. Krevish's mind raced. Withdraw? Fall back from a single ship? But if he kept this up, he would not have a fleet. Negative. Bring up the 2nd Cruiser Division. We need heavier weapons. Sir, that will take time to reposition. Then get them in combat range. Now, the Nightfall shifted tactics, accelerating directly into the remaining destroyer formation. This should have been suicide. Getting that close negated the speed advantage. Should have been suicide. Was not. At close range, the Nightfall's secondary weapons came online. Point defense lasers sliced through destroyer hulls. Plasma cutters carved through armor plating. And the railguns, at this range, were absolutely devastating. It was like watching a shark swim through a school of fish. Collision alert. Destroyer 43 is attempting to ram the Nightfall. Krevash watched as one desperate commander tried to end this by simply smashing into the human ship. The Nightfall rolled, a maneuver that should have been impossible, and the destroyer shot past. As it passed, the Nightfall fired a single railgun shot into the destroyer's engine core. The explosion was spectacular and utterly pointless. How many left? Krevash asked, his voice hollow. 8 destroyers remaining functional, sir. 8. Out of 46. In less than 9 minutes. Pull them back. All remaining destroyers. Withdraw to the main fleet. The retreat order went out, and the surviving destroyers fled. The Nightfall did not pursue. It simply stopped, surrounded by debris, waiting. Lieutenant Vornax's console beeped. Sir, incoming transmission from the Nightfall. Krevash almost did not want to answer. Put it through. Admiral Krevash, I strongly suggest you reconsider your current course of action. I have just destroyed 38 of your destroyers. I took no damage. My shields are at 97%. My ammunition reserves are at 82%. Turn around, Admiral. This is your last warning. The channel closed. Krevash stared at the viewscreen. Every instinct was screaming at him to retreat. But he could not. His career depended on completing this mission. Have the cruisers proceed, and bring up the dreadnoughts. All of them. Thrace turned to him, eyes wide. Sir, are you certain? Do you have a better idea, Commander? Thrace had no answer. Neither did Krevash. The 12 heavy cruisers moved into position with confidence that came from being very large and not yet having been shot at by the Nightfall. They spread out into a wide attack formation, maintaining proper spacing, coordinating their approach with textbook precision. Cruiser formation is optimal, sir, the tactical officer Hillix reported, though his early enthusiasm had been replaced by dread. The cruisers opened fire simultaneously. their heavy plasma cannons launching bolts at the Nightfall. The barrage was coordinated, timed so the shots would arrive from different vectors at the same moment. The Nightfall did not dodge, it activated something new. A field appeared around the human ship, and the incoming plasma bolts just curved away, bending around the Nightfall like water flowing around a stone. "What is that?" Cravash demanded. Pollux frantically checked his instruments. "Some kind of gravitational manipulation, sir. It is bending space around the ship. I have never seen anything like this." The Nightfall returned fire with beam weapons. Not lasers, something else. 3 lances of concentrated energy struck 3 different cruisers simultaneously. Their shields held, barely, for about 7 seconds. Then the Nightfall focused all 3 beams on a single cruiser. The concentrated fire overwhelmed the shields, burned through the armor and carved a glowing line through the ship's midsection. "Cruiser Relentless is gone, sir." The remaining cruisers scattered, abandoning formation. They fired continuously, pouring everything they had at the Nightfall. The amount of ordnance filling space was mind-boggling. The Nightfall wove through it all. Those micro-jumps meant the ship was never where targeting predicted. And when something hit, the shields or gravitational field deflected it. Another cruiser took the full force of those beam weapons. This captain tried to rotate his ship, presenting fresh shield sections. It was not enough. A railgun shot punched through the engineering section. The reactor went critical and the explosion took out another cruiser that had been too close. "Cruisers Relentless, Hammer, and Pride are destroyed or disabled, sir." Sensor Officer Boris, front and center. Cravash barked at a specialist working a secondary station. "I want to know everything about that ship. Find me a weakness." Boris practically ran to the console, his fingers moving with desperate speed. "Routing all sensor data, sir. Give me 2 minutes. You have 90 seconds. The battle continued. The Nightfall targeted another cruiser, but the other ships concentrated fire around it, creating a wall of overlapping plasma. The Nightfall jumped anyway, appearing in a gap between volleys, then fired on 2 cruisers at once. "Time," Boris shouted. "I have something." "Report." Boris pulled up a display, hands shaking. "Sir, I cross-referenced the energy signature with our intelligence database. That ship, it is not in any current fleet roster, but I found a match in our classified threat assessment files. A codename, and the humans call this class a Reaper. It is a prototype, experimental. Our intelligence indicated they only built 2, maybe 3. They were supposed to be testbed ships." Thrace leaned over. "What kind of testbed?" "Next-generation warfare, sir. Every experimental technology the humans have been developing, crammed into a single platform. Advanced shield matrices, gravitational drives, experimental beam weapons, AI-assisted targeting, self-repairing armor. These ships were designed to test whether it was possible to build a vessel that could engage multiple capital ships simultaneously." The bridge went silent. Cravash felt his confidence shatter. "Are you telling me we are fighting a prototype? An experimental ship?" "Yes, sir. And based on current performance, the experiment is a remarkable success. How do we kill it?" Boris hesitated. "The report does not say, sir. The only limitation is endurance. Those systems draw enormous power. Extended combat should drain their reactors." "How extended?" 12 to 16 hours of sustained combat before critical power depletion." Cravash laughed bitterly. "We have been fighting for 14 minutes and lost 41 ships. We do not have 12 hours. Another cruiser exploded. "Dreadnoughts are entering weapons range, sir." The massive warships, the pride of the collective fleet, moved into position. 12 dreadnoughts, each one a floating fortress. Cravash opened a channel to all Dreadnought commanders. "You are facing a Reaper-class human warship. It has already destroyed over 40 vessels. Do not underestimate it. We attack as one, coordinated volleys, maximum firepower. Understood. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark." 12 dreadnoughts fired simultaneously. The combined barrage was astronomical. The space around the Nightfall turned into a miniature sun. The barrage continued for 10 straight seconds. When the weapons fire stopped, everyone stared at the view screen, waiting for debris. The sensors cleared. The Nightfall hung in space, shields flickering but intact, completely undamaged. And then it opened fire on the dreadnoughts. "Oh no," whispered Thrace. The Nightfall systematically dismantled them. It targeted engines first, crippling mobility with surgical rail gunshots. Within 90 seconds, half the dreadnoughts were dead in space. All ships. Evasive maneuvers. Krivish was shouting, "Concentrate fire." They tried. Dreadnought weapons tracked the Nightfall, fired predictions, attempted to saturate grid squares. Some shots connected, hammering those shields. But the shields held. Sir, massive energy buildup from the Nightfall. On the view screen, the Nightfall had stopped moving. Along its spine, something was glowing. Bright white, getting bright. All ships. Evasive action. Get out of its firing line. The dreadnoughts tried to move, but dreadnoughts were not built for speed. The Nightfall fired. It was not a beam or projectile. It was a wave of compressed energy that distorted space. The weapon hit Dreadnought Eternal Fury dead center, and the ship just came apart. Not exploded. Came apart. Every weld, every bolt, every connection failed simultaneously. The massive warship disintegrated into thousands of pieces. One shot. One capital ship. Gone. What was that? Krivash heard himself ask. Boris checked sensors with shaking hands. Some kind of resonance weapon, sir. It found the ship's harmonic frequency and vibrated it to pieces. I did not think this was even possible. How long until it can fire again? 45 seconds to charge, sir. 30 seconds later, Captain Rebecca Torres appeared on the view screen for the first time. She was younger than Krivash expected, with dark hair and eyes that showed no mercy whatsoever. Admiral Krivash, I believe we have reached the point where you need to make a decision. Continue fighting and I will systematically destroy every ship you have. Or be smart, turn around and go home. I am giving you this option exactly once. Krivash wanted to argue, to find some defiant response. But what was the point? She had won. How? He asked. How does one ship accomplish this? Torres smiled without warmth. That is the thing about intelligence, Admiral. It is always out of date. Humanity has been preparing for conflicts like this for years. We knew larger civilizations would test us, so we built ships like the Nightfall. Not many. They are expensive, but enough. Enough to make species like yours think twice. One ship, Krivish said bitterly. You stopped an entire fleet with one ship. One ship, one trained crew, and human stubbornness. Also, you made it easier by bunching up in predictable formations. The insult stung because it was accurate. What happens now? Now, you leave. You go back to the collective and tell your High Council that Breakpoint 7 is off limits. Tell them humanity is not interested in territorial negotiations at gunpoint. If they want to discuss this system, they can send diplomats, not warships. And if they send a larger fleet, Torres leaned forward. Then we send more than one Reaper. Admiral, this did not have to happen. You could have accepted diplomatic solutions. You chose violence. We responded. Do not make that mistake again. She was right. The High Council had assumed humans would back down. That assumption had cost him 47 ships, thousands of crew members, and his career. The High Council will not be pleased. That is your problem. My concern is protecting Breakpoint 7. Your fleet is still in weapons range. Start moving away, now, or I start shooting again. It was not a bluff. Fleet-wide channel, Krivash ordered. All ships, we are withdrawing from Breakpoint 7. Cease fire and begin retreat. We are leaving. The acknowledgements came back slowly. The massive Krunari fleet began to turn away, engines firing to push them back toward their own space. Krivash looked at Torres one last time. I underestimated you. I underestimated humanity. That was a mistake I will not make again. See that you do not, Admiral. And one more thing. You gave your people the right order just now. You saved lives by retreating. That takes courage. Remember that when you make your report. The channel closed. The Crimson Talon turned away from Breakpoint 7. The Nightfall did not pursue. It remained in position, a silent guardian, ensuring the threat departed. What will you tell the High Council, sir? Thrace asked. Krivash considered. I will tell them exactly what happened. That despite our numerical superiority, we were defeated. That humanity possesses military technology beyond what our intelligence suggested. And I will recommend that future interactions be conducted through diplomacy rather than military force. They will not like that. No, I will likely be stripped of command, but maybe they will listen. Maybe this will prevent a larger war the collective cannot win. And if they do not listen, Krivash looked at where the Nightfall had disappeared from view. Then I pity whoever commands that fleet. Because if one Reaper can do this, I do not want to imagine what multiple ships could accomplish, or what an entire human battle fleet could do if they went on the offensive. The hours that followed were grim. 47 ships destroyed, over 12,000 dead, hundreds of billions in losses, and they had not even reached breakpoint 7. Boris approached hesitantly. Sir, I analyzed the battle data. The Nightfall never targeted life support or crew compartments. Every shot aimed at tactical systems. It was showing restraint. Cravache thought about that. Your point? Captain Torres could have killed far more of us. She was showing restraint while defending her colony. The humans are willing to fight, but they are not interested in slaughter. Thrace nodded. If we approach them with respect rather than threats, we might find them willing to negotiate. Cravache leaned back, feeling every one of his ears. His career was over, but maybe the loss would serve a purpose. Maybe the High Council would learn, or maybe they would just build a bigger fleet. Either way, Admiral Cravache would not be leading it. As the Crimson Talon limped away, Cravache drafted his report mentally. He would be honest, brutally so. He would describe every failure, every miscalculation, and he would end with a simple recommendation. Do not fight the humans unless you are prepared to lose. Because when defending their people, humans did not back down. They sent a ship like the Nightfall, and they said 2 simple words that changed everything. Watch me.